You can ground yourself by putting your feet on the floor and feeling the floor beneath your feet. You can ground yourself by touching things around you. For example, you can feel a surface and you can feel if it's flat, if it's hot or cold. Just being mindful of different qualities of the things that you touch. It can be really helpful to having something like a ring that you wear, and if you're feeling a little ungrounded, you can just spin it on your hand, or it can be helpful to have something that has like a texture to it, because then you can move your hand over the texture and you can feel the texture and be mindful of that. So really anything that helps give feedback to your senses can be used as a grounding tool. It's helpful to find things that you can carry with you easily so you can use them whenever you need. That's why I like using things like a ring. It can be really useful to have just little things that you can play with in your hands and just feel that sensory feedback. You can use just a rock or a marble. One thing that I found really useful was to carry a stress ball around with me, because a stress ball is heavy and you can squeeze it, so it also gives that sensory feedback. You can move it back and forth from hand to hand to get that bilateral stimulation going, which can be helpful. So having a stress ball that you can just carry around and use if you're feeling a little ungrounded can be really beneficial. Holding something cold, like holding an ice cube in your hand, that one's really helpful because sometimes you can be so dissociated that you can't connect with certain senses. Like, for example, I've had times where I've been so dissociated, I've been trying to smell something to get grounded, but I can't smell anything. Or I'm trying to hold something in my hand to get grounded, but I can't feel anything in my hand. Times like that, ice can be really useful because it's just so cold. It's such a shock that it kind of breaks through that dissociation. And if you hold it in your hand, you will feel it. So that's been really helpful a lot of times, holding an ice cube or ice pack, just putting an ice pack to your skin. That one, I definitely recommend that if you need a lot of grounding in that moment. Some other examples of things that I find useful for grounding. Having something heavy can be really useful for grounding yourself, for that proprioception. I actually found this on the floor. It's just like a business card holder, and I find it really helpful because it's small enough that I can hold it in my hand, and it's heavy, so I can really feel that sensory feedback when I hold it in my hand, and that helps me get more grounded to my body. And you can kind of toss it back and forth between your hands to get even extra sensory input. I also like how it has edges, so they're not sharp enough for you to cause any harm to yourself, but it's pointy enough for you to really feel it. That can help too, just having sensory feedback. You can really use anything that you find useful. Like I said, I just found this. It's not even made for grounding, but I find it grounding. It's also really useful just to have something heavy that you can hold in your lap. Having something like a heavy bag of rice that you hold in your lap can be really helpful. Or even anything heavy, like for example, you can get a weight and just hold this and just feel the weight of it. Things like that I find extremely effective personally for getting back into your body and getting grounded into the present moment. It can help to just hold something in your arms, something soft. You can just feel the texture of it. And that can feel nice and safe and comforting, which can help you get more grounded. And it can be helpful if you choose to even buy things that are made for sensory feedback. So this is a good example of one. It's movable, you can kind of rearrange it into different shapes. It's springy. And this kind of thing you can just play with in your hands, and it provides that sensory feedback to help you get more connected to your body. This is another example of something like that. This provides a lot of sensory feedback, all the different little things sticking out of it. So, stuff like this